Defenders of torture, Christianity's cult logic and the fallacy of loving Jesus. In the name of love, Christianity has inflicted generations of psychological coercion through a doctrine more terrifying than any dystopian novel: eternal conscious torment. This is not merely theological speculation. It is a weaponized idea, wielded against the conscience of children, the vulnerable, and the questioning. The apologists of this belief often try to camouflage its brutality under euphemisms like warning, truth, or love. But beneath the sanitized rhetoric lies a clear mechanism of control, psychological torture masquerading as care. And in that light, the defense of hell becomes not just a theological disagreement, but a defense of spiritual abuse. 1. It's not coercion, it's choice. The first fallacy. Defenders of hell insist that no one is being forced to love Jesus. They point out that no one is, physically, tortured into submission. But this is a textbook misunderstanding, or more likely, a willful misrepresentation, of how psychological coercion works. Coercion does not require physical violence. The threat of infinite torment, of burning forever if you do not submit to a specific belief system, is not a gentle invitation. It is mental terrorism. Imagine telling a child, "If you don't love this man named Jesus, you will be separated from your family forever, and tortured in a lake of fire after you die." If this is not abuse, what is? No secular court would call this harmless advice. When faith hinges on terrorizing the imagination with unending pain, it ceases to be faith. It becomes indoctrination through fear. 2. Jesus warns because he loves. The abuse justifier. This is the spiritual equivalent of an abuser saying, "I only hurt you because I love you." The idea that Jesus, lovingly, warns people about hell while simultaneously allowing it to exist undermines the very definition of love. To offer someone a gift of salvation from eternal torment, which your theology says he himself allows, is a bait-and-switch of cosmic proportions. Love that comes with a gun to the head is not love. It's hostage-taking. The argument that Jesus suffered on the cross so we wouldn't have to go to hell only reinforces the problem. This is divine blackmail. Worship me because I paid your ransom, or suffer forever. That isn't grace. It's a mafia tactic. 3. Hell is just separation from God. The sanitized horror. Another common defense is to redefine hell not as fire, but as separation from God. This sounds softer, but in most Christian theology, the result is the same: conscious, eternal anguish. Whether it's literal flames or existential isolation, the pain is real, unending, and disproportionate to any human crime. And let's ask plainly, what kind of God, supposedly omnipotent and loving, creates a system where someone's finite mistakes are punished with infinite suffering? Even the worst human tyrants would be considered sadists for such logic. But when it's cloaked in sanctified language, it's called justice. This rebranding of torture as freedom to choose hell is like offering someone a choice between worshipping a dictator or being sent to a dungeon forever, then calling it democracy. 4. But people die for their faith. The martyr fallacy. Christian apologists often claim that because people willingly suffer or die for their belief in Jesus, the belief must be true or good. This is both historically dishonest and logically flawed. People have died for countless religions: Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, even cults like Heaven's Gate. Martyrdom does not validate truth, it only proves conviction. Conviction is not evidence. People can be brainwashed into believing anything if the stakes are high enough, especially when the belief system begins its indoctrination in childhood, reinforced by community, culture, and fear of damnation. 5. You're just offended by accountability. The gaslight. When critics point out that threatening people with hell is manipulative, Christians often respond by accusing them of emotional fragility, or being allergic to truth. This is a smokescreen, a gaslight designed to flip the conversation from systemic harm to personal offense. But the concern isn't that Christianity is merely uncomfortable. The concern is that it conditions people to accept emotional blackmail, normalize the trauma of eternal threats, and believe that love can be offered on the condition of surrender. That's not morality. That's moral abuse. 6. Christianity isn't a cult. The delusion of exception. According to many definitions of cult behavior, Christianity meets the criteria. A charismatic central figure who must be worshipped. Absolute claims about truth and morality. Social isolation of those who doubt or leave. A fear-based control mechanism, hell. The idea that Christianity is not a cult because it has old books and big buildings is like saying a toxic relationship is fine because it has a marriage license. Let's be honest, if any new religion emerged today claiming that non-believers would burn in fire forever, we'd call it a destructive cult. Christianity is simply an ancient one, normalized through centuries of power, not purity. Conclusion: love should not be a threat. When defenders of Christianity dismiss critiques of hell as emotional overreaction, they miss, or dodge, the core point. Any ideology that hinges on eternal punishment for disbelief is inherently coercive. The fact that many Christians have internalized this coercion as love is precisely what makes it so dangerous. The threat of hell is not a loving warning. It is not a metaphorical seatbelt. It is the psychological equivalent of spiritual warfare against the autonomy of the human mind. To believe it out of fear is understandable. To defend it proudly is madness. And to call that madness grace is the final fallacy of the cult.